In this video, you're going to learn how to overcome the pain, anger, and fear of rejection in less than 2 hours. So right now, how does rejection currently affect you? Does it make you feel pain whenever you think about times you've been rejected in the past? Or does it ever make you feel angry whenever you're rejected? Or do you ever feel afraid or anxious about the possibility of being rejected? And does that kind of fear ever hold you back in life and prevent you from achieving things you might want to achieve? My name is David Fonvielle, and I am the author of this course on how to deal with rejection. The reason I wrote this course is because I dealt with rejection, and it used to be a big problem for me. It used to be really painful every time I got rejected, and I was intimidated about the possibility of being rejected, which would make me afraid of putting myself in situations where rejection might occur. As you can imagine, that definitely held me back from achieving things I would have loved to have achieved. So, for a long period of time, my way of dealing with it was I just learned how to live with this kind of pain and fear. And there are times when I would just force myself to put myself in situations where I might get rejected and just deal with it. And this kind of worked, except that this sense of pain and fear was always there. And I wanted to be free of that. So what I did is I made it my mission to learn how to feel differently about rejection so that I didn't have any of this pain, anger, or fear associated with it. And by taking deliberate action, I learned how to change the way I reacted to rejection so that it became no big deal to me. And right now, that's how it is. I still get rejected, but now I don't feel that pain, anger, or fear that I used to feel. And that's the change that I'm going to teach you how to achieve in this course. The reason I created this course is because rejection is just extremely painful for most people. Not just me or you, but for most people, because studies have shown that when people think about rejection, their brains light up as if they're experiencing physical pain. So, for this reason, if you don't do anything about the way you feel about rejection, every time you think about rejection, your brain lights up as if you're physically hurting, as if you've broken an arm or a leg, and this will be painful for you for the rest of your life. Similarly, numerous studies show that rejection can make you feel really angry and filled with resentment and lead to a lot of terrible outcomes in your life. There was one study done of school shooters where it was shown that 15 out of 15 of them, 13 of them had suffered from social rejection. And as you can see, that led to a lot of really destructive negative consequences. And finally, rejection has been shown in numerous studies to just have a negative effect on your life overall because it can contribute to things like sadness, depression, anxiety, jealousy. And as you can imagine, all of this is extremely stressful, so it can lead to worse health and a poor quality of sleep, among other things. You probably don't need a study to tell you this, though, because if you've ever been rejected, you know how stressful and miserable it can be, and how it can definitely lead to things like less quality of sleep and worse social interactions with other people and worse health overall. So the big lesson here is that if you don't do anything about the situation, rejection is going to have this negative toll on your life. There are some other good things we can learn about from these studies. And the first one is that rejection is something that everyone deals with, and it is completely normal to have this sense of pain, anger, and fear attached to rejection. So do not beat yourself up if that's how you react to rejection. There is nothing wrong with you. You do not have a defect. You're not broken in any way. You're not a coward if you're afraid of being rejected. You're not weak if you're hurt when you're rejected. This is the normal experience for most people. That said, another big insight is Rejection doesn't have to have this kind of an effect. Yes, it might be normal for the majority of people to experience pain, anger, and fear of rejection, but normal doesn't mean good, and normal doesn't mean you have to always feel that way. I'm uh, I'm an example. I used to have this kind of pain, anger, and fear associated with rejection. Now I don't. That can change for you too. You can also probably know people in your life who rejection is no big deal to them, and you've wondered, why are they not afraid of rejection, but I am? Well, it's because they're approaching rejection differently than you, and you're going to learn how to approach rejection differently too in this course. Now, another big lesson from all this is that, contrary to what you might think, your real problem with rejection is not being rejected. Lots of people think that rejection is the problem, but it's not. It's how you react to rejection that is the problem. To understand this, if you didn't have any pain, anger, or fear of rejection, uh, if it felt like no big deal to you at all and it didn't put you in a bad mood, and in fact you even felt great about how easily you were able to handle it, rejection wouldn't be a problem for you at all. Yes, you would still get rejected, but it wouldn't be a big deal to you, so it wouldn't be a problem. Now, you might listen to this and say, yes, I know, Dave, if I didn't feel any pain, anger, or fear of rejection, it wouldn't be a problem for me. But guess what? I can't help how I feel. That's just how I feel whenever I'm rejected, and that's the problem. And that is the biggest problem. If that is how you feel, if you feel completely helpless to change the way you feel whenever you get rejected, this is extremely stressful. It's because the reason it hurts so much is that there is this idea of guaranteed pain, guaranteed suffering, and you feel helpless to do anything about that. So, of course, rejection is terrifying if you feel helpless to do anything about this kind of guaranteed pain. So, the good news is that this course is going to completely solve your problems with rejection, because you are going to learn step by step how to change the way you feel about rejection so that rejection isn't a big deal or a problem for you anymore. You'll be able to deal with it just fine. And by being able to change how you feel about rejection and knowing exactly what to do, you're now going to feel empowered. Instead of feeling helpless, you're going to feel much stronger and more confident, and you're not going to be intimidated by rejection anymore, because you'll know you can change how you feel and deal with it really easily. So, now that you know this, let's get started tackling the steps for overcoming the pain, anger, and fear of rejection. Step one, it's really important that you have a clear direction in your mind about what you want to achieve. A big mistake I see people make is they say, I don't want to have any pain, anger, or fear of rejection. I don't want to feel that way anymore. Well, that's great, but until you know of how you want to feel instead, nothing is going to happen. To understand this, think about getting into a taxi at the airport and you tell the taxi driver, I don't want to be at the airport anymore. The taxi driver might say okay and be ready to take you somewhere, but until you have a clear direction or a destination to go in, you're not going anywhere. The same is true in this case. You might not want to suffer any pain, anger, or fear of rejection, but until you have a clear goal to hit instead, nothing's going to happen. For this reason, right now, set a really clear goal in your mind, like, I want to achieve becoming completely comfortable with rejection so that it's always no big deal and never an issue for me. This is a clear goal that you can hit. And the way you know you've hit this goal is you make the changes you learn in this course, then you get rejected, and you realize, hey, this isn't a big deal to me anymore, and now you know that you've achieved this phenomenal success. So once you've set this goal, you've already done something huge. Step two, you have absolutely got to know why you want to overcome the pain, anger, and fear of rejection and become comfortable with it, even if no one else in the world wants you to create this change. Why is this important? Well, you've got to think of it like this. You've got this destination you want to go to, becoming comfortable with rejection so that it's no big deal to you. But your motivation is what's going to get you to your destination. It's like the fuel for your journey. Now, the most important fuel and the best fuel of all is being self-motivated, meaning you want this, you're going to do this, even if no one else in the world wants it for you, even if no one else in the world wants to help you achieve it. Now, how do you create this really powerful self-motivation that makes you unstoppable and pretty much guarantees you're going to reach your destination? It's really simple. You ask yourself one question, which is this: what's in it for me? Okay, so here's what's in it for you, overcoming the pain, anger, and fear of rejection so that it becomes no big deal to you. First of all, you're going to be completely free of stress and anger whenever you're rejected. So this is going to be like headache relief because you're not going to have this kind of stress and turmoil in your life. You're also not just being free of negative value, you're gaining enormous positive value because you're gaining peace of mind and you're gaining a lot more happiness in life. You're naturally going to be always more calm and relaxed and enjoy life more just because rejection isn't this big deal or this problem for you anymore. So it's great. Also, you're going to be completely free from a lot of the pain and fear of rejection that most people experience. Again, you're going to be free of this headache, this ache that is really causing so much pain in your life. That'll just be gone. The immediate relief will feel so good. And being free of the fear, that is tremendous because not only is it going to feel so good to not be afraid of rejection anymore, but it's also going to lead to things like greater self-esteem and greater self-confidence. As you can imagine, if you don't have any fear of rejection anymore, you feel much better about yourself and your capabilities, so your self-esteem goes way up, and your self-confidence goes through the roof because you're not crippled by this fear of rejection holding you back anymore. So you become a much stronger person overall. And an important side effect is by having more self-esteem and self-confidence, you're naturally going to enjoy much more success in life. Because think about it, the fear of rejection will not be holding you back anymore. Instead of being intimidated to put yourself in situations where you might get rejected, you won't have that obstacle anymore. So it's going to be much easier for you to go out and achieve things you want to achieve without this fear of rejection holding you back. And with the higher self-esteem and higher self-confidence, you're guaranteed to enjoy more success in life on automatic pilot. It just works out for you in every single way. And once you appreciate all of this, you are fueled and ready to go on your journey because understanding all these benefits creates such powerful self-motivation, which will make it really easy for you to achieve your goal. So now let's get started on this journey by deciding something very important first of all. How are you going to get where you want to go? You know that you want to become fine and comfortable with rejection so that it's no big deal to you anymore. You've got all the motivation in the world to get there, but how are you going to do it? There are many different routes that you can take to arrive at any destination. The name of the game is to pick the route that is the fastest, easiest, most effective, most beneficial, safest. You want the best route. That's what you're aiming for. So with this in mind, let's consider some routes that people take to try to deal with rejection and decide which one is the best of all. A very common strategy, first of all, that people have for dealing with rejection is to deal with it with alcohol or pills. The idea is you numb the pain of rejection with alcohol, and so you don't feel that pain anymore. Or you overcome the fear of rejection by drinking alcohol and and then going out and putting yourself in a situation where you might get rejected. The classic example is a guy or a girl at a bar drinking a shot of alcohol, a so-called shot of courage, to go over and ask someone out on a date, right? The idea here is that this alcohol takes away the pain and the fear and all that. This is a terrible strategy for dealing with the pain, fear, and anger of rejection because you're not taking anything away at all. You are temporarily impairing your brain so that you don't feel certain things. But guess what? The moment the alcohol wears off, that pain, anger, and fear returns. It's never really gone. You've just temporarily blocked yourself from feeling it. Even worse, you are killing your self-confidence if you go this route because you're saying, hey, I'm not strong enough to deal with rejection. I need something like alcohol to help me. This really crushes your spirit. It is just so bad for you in so many different ways, not to mention you'll become more dependent on things like alcohol. Don't go this way at all. Similarly, don't take this approach, which is the approach of avoiding rejection. A lot of people's solution to dealing with the pain, anger, and fear of rejection is simple. They just don't put themselves in situations where they might get rejected. Again, this is bad because you're not dealing with rejection, you're hiding from it, and you're also not eliminating any of the pain, anger, or fear. You're still living with that pain, anger, and fear. You're just hiding with that pain, anger, and fear. And of course, with this strategy, it's going to hold you back from achieving all sorts of things you want to achieve in your life. And again, your self-confidence plummets because you feel like you're hiding from rejection as if you're not strong enough to face it. Bad on so many different levels. Now we're going to take a much better strategy, a step forward, which I call the jump in and get used to it approach to rejection. The idea with this approach is that you think of rejection as being like this big, frozen, scary, icy lake, but you go ahead and you force yourself to jump into it, and it is miserable, but you get numb to it and you learn that you can deal with it and you can handle it. And in this way, your confidence grows because you've proven that you can deal with rejection. The good benefits of this approach is that, yes, you are learning that you can deal with rejection. The drawback is pretty big, though, in that the pain, anger, fear of rejection, it remains. Rejection continues to remain this miserable experience. Yes, now you know that you can deal with it, but every time in your head, it's like, oh, it's this miserable thing I don't want to deal with. Okay, I'll go ahead. I'll deal with it. Yes, I know I'll get through it. You know without a doubt that you can get through it, but it's miserable and painful for you every time. So this is still not good in that sense because you haven't removed that anger, fear, or pain. This brings us to strategy 4, which is the best strategy so far. This is to change the way you think about rejection in order to change the way you feel about rejection. Changing the way you think in order to change the way you feel is the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which has been clinically proven to help people eliminate things like stress, anger, pain, fear. And for this reason, this is the perfect ideal approach to rejection because you are using a clinically proven approach to help you eliminate the stress, pain, anger, and fear of rejection so that you don't deal with those kinds of emotions anymore whenever you get rejected. To help you understand how cognitive behavioral therapy works, it works something like this. If before you think of rejection as this big, terrifying, scary, icy, frozen lake, by changing the way you think about rejection, now it seems like rejection is more like this bathtub filled with lukewarm bath water in it. And so as a result, rejection feels completely different to you because it looks completely different to you. It's not as scary to you anymore. It's not as intimidating to you. Yes, it would be terrifying for you to jump into a frozen icy lake, but Getting into a bathtub full of lukewarm bath water is no big deal. You might not prefer it, you might not want to do that sometimes, but if it happens, you know that you can easily handle it. It's no big deal. So, this is the power of changing the way you think in order to change the way you feel. That said, you can go one step better to achieve the ultimate strategy for overcoming the pain, anger, and fear of rejection, and that is to combine strategy 3 with strategy 4. The idea is this: first, you change the way you think about rejection in order to feel differently about it, and then you put yourself in situations where you get rejected, and when you get rejected, you appreciate, hey, it's no big deal at all. It's confirmed and proven for you that you feel differently when you get rejected. And so your self-confidence skyrockets. It shoots through the roof because every time you get rejected now, you realize, oh, that barely hurt, or that didn't even hurt at all. That's amazing. So instead of rejection being this crushing experience, every encounter you have with rejection now confirms how strong and confident and powerful you are, and how rejection isn't a big deal to you anymore. And so you grow stronger and stronger and stronger from rejection with every encounter you experience. Again, this only works if you first change how you think to change how you feel, and then you encounter rejection and notice this huge difference. So this is the strategy you've got to choose to take for the most effective results. So now that you know this, let's go ahead and review quickly what you've done. You've established a clear goal. You want to become comfortable with rejection so that it's no big deal. You're fully motivated to achieve this, and you know exactly what strategy you're going to take to do it. Specifically, you're going to start by changing the way you think about rejection to feel differently about it. So let's get started thinking about that and think about ways that you can start changing the way you think and feel about rejection today. There are different approaches you can take. One approach is you can target thoughts that for you create a lot of pain, anger, and fear of rejection, which is good to do. But another approach to take is a shortcut, which is to take this to go through the thoughts in this course. What I've done is I've collected a lot of the biggest common thoughts that make rejection so painful and scary for people, and I walk you step by step through the process of changing these thoughts, eliminating them so that you never think this way again anymore. And as a result, you immediately, naturally eliminate pain, anger, and fear of rejection by doing this. As an example, let me show you how this is done. A very common way that people think about rejection that makes it so scary and painful for them is to think that rejection always hurts no matter what. For example, someone can think, rejection hurts me no matter what I think or do. With this kind of a mentality, rejection is extremely, extremely stressful and painful. If you remember, at the beginning of this course, I taught you how one of the biggest problems anyone will face with rejection is feeling helpless to do anything about any pain, anger, or fear of rejection, and just feeling like they can't help feeling miserable whenever they're rejected. Well, this thought makes you helpless. If you think about it, whenever you think rejection hurts no matter what you think or do, by doing this, you have way lower self-esteem because you're not appreciating yourself or your capabilities. You have way less self-confidence. You have no motivation to feel differently because you think you can't do anything about it. So as a result, rejection remains really painful for you whenever it occurs. And worst of all, you remain terrified of rejection occurring because in your mind it's just this guaranteed pain and misery and you can't do anything about it. Big lesson. If you didn't think this way, you would already have much less pain, anger, and fear of rejection. Another example. Lots of people think of rejection as being this completely bad, awful, miserable thing, and that no good comes from it at all. So if you think this way about rejection, and you think that it's just completely bad, no good comes from it, and you can't benefit from it in any way, then what you have done is you have turned rejection into this really scary, evil monster in your mind that is completely bad and destructive in every way. And of course, if you think of rejection like this, it's really scary and intimidating, and it's really painful. It's not anything that you want to deal with. In fact, it's something you want to run away from. So this kind of a thought about rejection will naturally make you want to hide from rejection, and naturally not make you want to not put yourself in situations where you might get rejected. So of course, you're going to have way less success in life with this thought. And of course, you're also going to have way less self-confidence because you're thinking that you can't take rejection and benefit from it in any way. You're just thinking that you're incapable of doing something constructive. This is another way this thought will hurt you. Big lesson. If you didn't think this way about rejection, again, you wouldn't have nearly as much pain, anger, or fear of rejection if it occurred. So a big question is this. These thoughts definitely hurt you, and they hold you back, and they make you struggle with rejection. How do you change these thoughts? How do you make it so that you never think this way again, and instead you think in ways about rejection that make you more calm, relaxed, and confident, so that rejection is no big deal to you at all? This is something that I'm going to walk you through step by step in future lessons how to do. But for right now, I want you to appreciate the big picture, which is this. The moment you change the way you think about rejection, you change the way you feel about rejection, which means you immediately feel better about rejection. You immediately reduce the pain, anger, and fear of rejection by changing your thinking, which means you don't have to wait a long time at all to eliminate the pain, anger, or fear. You can do it way faster than most people think. It's just a matter of knowing what to do and then doing it. So the big question right now is this. How quickly do you think you can overcome the pain, anger, and fear of rejection by changing your thinking? Do you think it could take weeks, days, hours? I want to plant this idea in your head right now. You can dramatically eliminate and reduce the pain, anger, and fear of rejection in 2 hours or less by changing those thoughts that are creating the pain, anger, and fear of it. So you don't have to wait a long time to do it. You could take 50 years to eliminate a thought that makes you terrified of rejection, or you could eliminate that thought in 5 minutes. It's up to you. So how fast do you think you could do it? Now here is a beautiful thing for you to learn and understand and appreciate. If right now it sinks into you that, hey, I definitely can overcome the pain, anger, and fear of rejection, and it's only a matter of time. It's just a matter of doing this, and I can do it. If you've already come to this realization, you have already become confident in overcoming the pain, anger, and fear of rejection, which is huge because, like I said, one of the biggest problems with rejection is feeling powerless and helpless to do anything about your situation. And if right now you know that, yes, you can do something about the situation, your problem is already half solved just because you have empowered yourself. So right now, take a moment to appreciate how quickly you can eliminate the pain, anger, and fear of rejection. And then now do it. In the next lesson, start changing your thinking immediately so that you feel better about rejection immediately. That's it. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.